What the f is liberalism? Liberalism is a political and moral philosophy based on liberty, consent of the governed, and equality before the law. Liberals espouse a wide array of views depending on their understanding of this, including civil rights and human rights, capitalism, democracy, secularism, racial equality, gender equality, internationalism, freedom of speech, freedom of the press, and freedom of religion. Yellow is the political color most commonly associated with liberalism. Liberalism became a distinct movement in the Age of Enlightenment, when it became popular among Western philosophers and economists. Liberalism sought to replace the norms of hereditary privilege, state religion, absolute monarchy, the divine rights of kings, and traditional conservatism. With representative democracy and the rule of law, liberals also ended mercantilist policies, royal monopolies, and other barriers to trade, instead of promoting free trade and free markets. Philosopher John Locke is often credited with founding liberalism as a distinct tradition based on the social contract, arguing that each man has a natural right to life, liberty, and property. Governments must not violate these rights, arguing that each person has a natural right to life, liberty, property, and governments must not violate these rights. While the British liberal tradition has emphasized expanding democracy, French liberalism was emphasized rejecting authoritarianism and is linked to nation building. Leaders in the Glorious Revolution of 1688, the American Revolution of 1776, and the French Revolution of 1789 used liberal philosophy to justify the armed overthrow of the royal tyranny. I'm gonna put on some random art so you can appreciate something visual as I'm talking. Liberalism started to spread rapidly, especially after the French Revolution. The 19th century saw liberal governments establish in nations across Europe and South America, whereas it was well established among republicanism in the United States. In Victorian Britain, it was used to critique the political establishment, appealing to science and reason on behalf of the people. During 19th and early 20th century, liberalism in the Ottoman Empire and Middle East influenced periods of reform such as Tanzimat and Al-Nahda, as well as the rise of constitutionalism, nationalism, and secularism. These changes, along with other factors, helped to create a sense of crisis within Islam, which continues to this day, leading to Islamic revivalism. Before 1920, the main ideological opponents of liberalism were communism, conservatism, socialism. But liberalism then faced major ideological challenges from fascism and Marxism and Leninism and all that as new opponents. During the 20th century, liberal ideas spread even further, especially in Western Europe, as liberal democracies found themselves on the waning side in both world wars. In Europe and North America, The establishment of social liberalism, often called simply liberalism in the United States, became a key component in the expansion of the welfare state.
So it's not really centrist. It does have a few policies that some people might say are left usually, but Marxists and Leninists, communists, socialists might not call that left. It all depends on where you live. Also, there are different types of liberalism, such as moderate liberalism or progressive liberalism.
Today, liberal parties continue to wield power and influence throughout the world. However, liberalism still has challenges to overcome in Africa and Asia. The fundamental elements of contemporary society have liberal roots. The early wages of liberalism popularized economic individualism while expanding constitutional government and parliamentary authority. Liberals sought and established a constitutional order that prized important individual freedoms such as freedom of speech and freedom of association, as independent judiciary and public trial by jury. Later waves of modern liberal thought and struggle were strongly influenced by the need to expand civil rights. Liberals have advocated gender and racial equality in their drive to promote civil rights, and a global civil rights movement in the 20th century achieved several objectives toward both goals. Continental European liberalism is divided between moderates and progressives, with the moderates tending to elitism, and the progressives supporting the universalization of fundamental institutions such as universal suffrage,
which, in case you live under a rock,
don't worry, I won't tell anybody.
Suffrage means the right to vote,
universal education, and the expansion of property rights. Over time, the moderates displaced the progressives as the main guardians of continental European liberalism. Words such as liberal, liberty, libertarian, and libertine
all trace the history of Latin
liber, which means free. And here's something nobody gives a shit. One of the first recorded instances of the word liberal occurs in 1375, when it was used to describe the liberal arts in the context of an education desire for a free-born man. The word's early connection with the classical education of a medieval universities gave way to the proliferation of different denotations and connotations. Liberal could refer to free in bestowing as early as 1385, made without stint.
Whoops, where did that come from?
In 1433, freely permitted in 1530, and free from restraint, often as an insult. In the 16th and the 17th centuries, in 16th century England, liberal could have positive and negative attributes in referring to someone's generosity or indiscretion.
And you know what? That's right.
Your boy, William Shakespeare, in his book William Shakespeare, wrote of a liberal villain who hath confessed his vile encounters. While the rise of the Enlightenment, the word acquired decisively more positive undertones, being defined as free from prejudice. in 1781 and free from bigotry in 1823. In 1815, the first use of the word liberalism appeared in English. In Spain, the Liberales, the first group to use the liberal label in a political context, fought for decades for the implementation of the 1812 Constitution from 1820 to 1823. During the triennial liberal, King Ferdinand was compelled by the Liberales to swear to uphold the Constitution. By the middle of the 19th century, liberal was used as a publicized term for parties and movements worldwide. Over time, the meaning of the word liberalism became to diverge in different parts of the world. According to the Encyclopedia Britannica in the United States, liberalism is associated with the welfare state policies.
Oh, hello, Encyclopedia Britannica of the United States. What's up? How's life? Oh, nothing, not much. I just think liberalism is associated with the welfare state policies of the New Deal program of the Democratic administration of pre-Franklin D. Roosevelt, where in Europe it is most commonly associated with a commitment to a government and laissez-faire economic policies. What about you? Nothing. I'm just making a video.
Consequently, in the United States, the ideas of individualism and laissez-faire economics, previously associated with classical liberalism, became the basis for the emerging school of libertarian thought and are key components of American conservatism. Unlike Europe and Latin America, the word liberalism in North America almost exclusively refers to social liberalism.